Cyclone Nation, what better way to kick off the 2025 college football season than cheering on your Cyclones in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland? Whether it's a quick trip to Dublin for the game, a multi-city adventure throughout the Irish countryside, or premium game day hospitality, there is a package for you. Visit cyclones2ireland.com for information on official travel and hospitality packages. That's Cyclones, the number 2, Ireland.com.
Welcome in to our second non-victory Monday of the year. Less fun than a victory Monday, but despite some feelings, the sky is not falling. The world is not falling apart. This is Kickin' It. I'm Jeff Woody here with Grant Mahoney, otherwise Toad from the Super Mario games. If you are an audio-only listener, I'm going to let you figure that out. I'm not really going to tell you what's going on with that. Aiden Wyatt's behind the board.
You should just go watch on YouTube.
You just go watch on YouTube or some social clips once it's released. We're, as always, brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing, Kelderman.com. If you, do you think everyone kind of wants to throw everything out and light everything on fire and the world is ending? Do you think there's Kelderman large metal trash cans that people could purchase?
Yeah, they'd make custom trash cans.
Custom trash cans.
Yeah.
Kelderman.com.
Burn your jerseys here.
Burn your jerseys. I feel like we have to start with just like that was a very poor defensive game. So poor that it overshadowed everything else. That there was a lot of good done everywhere, not most of the defense. And there was still even some parts of the defense that kind of got it figured out, at least a little bit at some portions of it. But there were big, giant mistakes that were made, and there's sort of a trend that's showing up. And I think that's what I wanted to spend most of today on, is like, how have the last 3 games differed from the first, whatever it was, 6 games? So the first 6, Iowa State goes 6-0. The last 3, Iowa State goes 1-2, and their defense is substantially different than what it was. So that, I think that's where I was going to start with, or sort of start with today. But I say that we'll get to the Iowa State thing. Can we say Debo Samuel's a jerk? Can we just say that right there?
Yeah, man. What the hell is that about? Come off the IR and you go ahead and push the long snapper.
He's public enemy number 1.
You mush a guy in the neck.
Yeah, Debo, you get your ass in the line and start snapping the ball and see how you do.
Yeah. Also, he's not great on as far as effort plays when he's not the one getting the ball. Like that's sort of the knock on Debo. That's why he's not kind of the usual number 1 guys. If he's not getting the ball, he's not really usually participating. But on the other side, pretty damn good player. I don't know. He's pretty freaking good.
Dude can scoot.
But yeah, come on, man. What?
The long snapper too. Like, what the hell did he ever do to you?
The snaps were good.
They were, and long snappers, everyone out there was known up and very nice.
Super nice. And nice also, I really appreciate I feel like the long snapper kicker relationship is very similar to the offensive line quarterback relationship, where the kicker is the one that gets all the credit and the blame, but the long snapper is the one that like accepts that the blame and the credit is not going to me, but I'm going to defend this guy as much as I can. So like Gray Mountain, Dakota Zimmerman, he'd stand in front of a bullet for you.
He would.
And Geyer. If
that would have ever happened, if we're in the same similar situation, if Leonard Johnson was Debo and he came after Dakota, I would have choked Leonard's ass out.
Yeah,
I saw Moody was standing there. I would have gone after. I would have choked his ass out. He was my roommate for a year in college.
Leonard?
So yeah.
Leonard also he would just laugh at you.
He stole a pair of my shoes one time. Yeah, he would. Alligator skin hands.
So
He's the greatest guy.
LJ just also fills up a room like of
he's
all
got
the
veneers now. I saw him on Facebook. I was like, dude, your teeth. Like, what'd you do to me? He goes, I spent about $30,000 on him. I go, oh.
Freddie Freeman.
I can tell.
The Freddie Freeman teeth. Leonard's one of those people that, like, it's like George, like Niang, when he, despite the fact that he's like 6'9", when George walks in a room, if he is in a room, you know that George is there. Yeah. Like, even if you can't see him, you just have you feel it. And LJ is a very similar way.
He agreed to come on the show, but then he was like, well, what kind of stuff you going to ask me? I was like, nothing personal, man. He's like, I got an image upload now, man. Like, I'm a dad. I was like, well, Yeah, maybe you shouldn't come on our show.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm a dad, and I embarrass myself every week.
Yeah, I was like, LJ, I'm not going to bring up too many college stories, but
okay. To Iowa State. The elephant in the room is the defense.
everyone's dead.
Everyone's dead. Our pets' heads are falling off. So back to kind of what I was leading in before. The first 6 games, Iowa State's defense was really, really salty. The last 3 games, Iowa State's defense has not been as salty. And injuries are a part of it. But the outside of Verdun, which taking that as a major piece off the table, especially in the quarterback run game and anything in the middle, like as far as tackling, like when you go back and look at the West Virginia game, Verdun was the leading tackler in the West Virginia game, which is a very similar offense to what Kansas runs. Well, Verdun played like a series and then he was out. And then Tashawn James was in there, which had a very mixed bag of a day. Like the mistakes were huge mistakes, but the good plays were pretty good. So it's not like he had it was either an A or an F on any particular play. It was very rarely like a B minus. So Verdun being off the table, that as kind of one injury that's different than weeks past. Dom Orange being out is another.
That came out of nowhere. I didn't even know he was.
Yeah, I didn't either. So Dom Orange being not there for whatever reason, I don't know if whatever was specified. So Dom Orange not being there, Malik Verdun not being there. Those are 2 major pieces that are not there. But Kansas wasn't scouting Iowa State to expect 95-7 to not be on the field. They were scouting Iowa State in the roster construction that played over the last 2 weeks. So why were they so successful when a team like West Virginia wasn't? So we back in the olden days, the fart days of this podcast, pre-Grant, PGM, and just again, it just drifted into the wind. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they linger, but that one just gone.
When one of the things we've talked about, we called it the Caleb Williams effect, which is when Caleb Williams came in against Texas in like whatever year it was, 2019, I don't know what year it was, when he came in against Texas and he scored like 5 touchdowns. And the next 2 or 3 weeks, he just lit everybody up. And then the back half of that season, I'm pretty sure they lost like 3 games to end the year, maybe even more than that. And he looked average. Now, granted, he turned himself into the first round draft pick, and now the Bears are a thing. Sorry
to interrupt you. I saw that they brought up, post on social media that Caleb Williams texted Torrey Taylor on draft day and was like, you won't need to punt much or something like that. And he punted at one point in the Bears game this weekend. He punted 8 times and said, Torrey Taylor punted today, 8 and counting. It's like he leads the NFL in punts. It's like,
no, I was just going to say, not Caleb Williams' fault.
No, it's not. But like, no. Either way, he worked himself into being.
Don't get me started on this.
He worked. Depending.
What are your thoughts on them getting Dave Montgomery?
What?
What are your thoughts on them letting Dave Montgomery?
I hated it.
All right.
But that's like the least of my problem with the Bears right now.
I feel like Waldron has got to be on the list.
He's top of the list.
Give it to Keenan Allen Moore. He's on my fantasy team. So.
He's fine. He has a role. Anyway, let's get back to Iowa State. So with Squirrel. So the Caleb Williams part of this is what that was is in the first little bit. And really, if you look across the state, like Brendan Sullivan comes in, tears up the first half against Northwestern, beats the shit out of Wisconsin, and then goes to play UCLA and only played a half and had 1 decent drive. And then they said, all right, we'll shut him down. Well, it's because they had 8 quarters of film then to figure out what he does and doesn't like. And they then made the adjustments to make him do all of the stuff that he doesn't like and didn't let him do the things that he did like. Caleb Williams had the same thing. The next year, Caleb Williams goes out and wins the Heisman.
I got to take this thing off and it's hurt my head.
It's such an obnoxiously large hat.
Yeah.
Is that 5950? I didn't know 5950, right?
I'll start to see stars.
Squeezing on your head over some headphones. But the next year, Caleb Williams goes out and wins the Heisman. Now, what that is it's easiest to communicate it with a quarterback because everything on offense runs through the quarterback, which is, okay, no one has any film on you. You go to town. Teams get film on you. They show you how they're going to defend you. You then have to take that and adjust around what they're going to put you in. It's easy to show on quarterbacks, again, because everything runs through them. Flip that to the other side. What have UCF, Texas Tech, and Kansas, what do those 3 teams have in common?
They've got film on Ryland Barnes, Bo Goodwin, and the linebackers that have subbed in, and they saw right off the bat, I can't remember who their first game was against. I don't think it was UCF. It was the game before that I thought that Ron Barnes played.
That he was the starter because I think Brazina got hurt against Baylor. Brazina got hurt in the second half of Baylor, which would have been
was the first
right
game.
Before West Virginia.
Yeah, so UCF would have been the first game he started, I think.
But I think West Virginia
would have been the first game that he started.
First game that he came in.
Baylor came in against Baylor, started against West Virginia, started against UCF.
Yeah.
So that group, that young group of linebackers, that between second half of Baylor, all of West Virginia, and then UCF, those teams figured out, and that's not just Ryland Barnes, that's everybody. That's all of the baby linebackers that are all redshirt freshmen or freshmen that are
Debo, Goodwin.
Good. I mean, and because Brazina played what, like 20 snaps, maybe?
Not even.
And so you have all inexperienced linebackers with not a lot of depth to be able to take plays off, like to come to the sideline and like adjust stuff to figure out what's going on. You got to learn it on the fly. And so those 8 quarters or so, teams figured out how to attack Iowa State's linebackers. So
I will say too that going from Baylor to West Virginia to UCF, the style of quarterback ramped up more towards a running style, which then rolled into
it's very similar.
Texas Tech, not at all, but Kansas for sure.
West Virginia and UCF. If you're Kansas, you watch West Virginia and UCF film and say, what did they do well against? What did the defense do well against West Virginia, and what did the defense do poorly against UCF? Those two things. Let's compare. Let's do a lot more of what UCF did. And
you know that Kansas State's licking the chops watching the UCF and Kansas game.
It's very similar. So, but the next 2 opponents are not that. The next 2 opponents, Cincinnati is a much more conventional style offense. It's more towards Texas Tech, but not quite as good as Texas Tech at running the ball.
Let me just talk about that for 1 second, because they are almost exactly like Iowa State. So passing, so total yards on the year, Iowa State has 9 total yards more than Cincinnati. Passing on the season, Iowa State averages 271, Cincy 268. Rushing, Iowa State 168, Cincy 170.
So pretty similar. Basically
similar.
playing Iowa State. But they don't have like the thing that they don't have a Taj Brooks as far as Texas Tech. And even still, in that Texas Tech game, they held Texas Tech to 23 points. That should win you the game most of the time. They just didn't offensively execute in the red zone where they needed to. So defensively, they did okay-ish against Texas Tech, bad against UCF, bad against Kansas. So you're not going to see another team like that until Kansas State, which is good for Iowa State because the Caleb Williams thing, first 3 games tears them up. Next 3 or 4 games gets beat. You learn to adjust to the adjustments. Iowa State will have these next few games to hopefully, 1, get some guys healthier, and 2, if they don't, which you don't know if they will or won't be. I mean, guys could be dead for all we know, and Matt Campbell still said they're going to play on Saturday. And you have that time to study the film of the games you've done poorly in and put yourself in the right situations by the time you get to Kansas. So by no means do you want to look past Cincinnati. That's not saying you could look past Cincinnati, but as far as a matchup is concerned, Kansas was a bad matchup for Iowa State offensively because they can put your linebackers in a blender. They're going to throw different reads at them. They're going to move guards. They're going to pull tight ends. They're going to put a lot of motion. They're going to run the quarterback. They're running true option. Like when you run true option, it's all about eye discipline and gap integrity. Those 2 things you need. You need consistency. You need practice. You need confidence as a linebacker. You can't wait and go, well, I think it's over here. And you can't hesitate. And all that stuff Kansas took advantage of. And still, now granted, the goal was slightly different in the second half for Kansas. They're trying to, bleed the clock out, but they scored 7 offensive points in the second half. They scored 1 pick six, but they scored 7 offensive points in the entirety of the second half. So Iowa State did dial it in. They got better by the time the second half rolled around. And again, Kansas looking to bleed clock as opposed to really keep the hammer down. It obviously helped in that respect, but the defense is not a lost cause. What teams have done to them is put that young linebacking crew, and then with Verdun out, Tashawn James is in that same position. They're all in the wrong spot. And then one more thing, like to just get this out of my brain onto the recording so we can discuss it, is if you are Bo Freeler and you're now because Verdun's not in there and Tashawn James is the other guy, you become the primary, if you're not already, you're the primary additional tackler. You then, when they were at the broadcast, I feel like did a decent job. They kind of hashed it almost too much of where is Bo Freeler. He's playing 7 yards off the ball. Well, why is he playing 7 yards off the ball? because the linebackers might misfit. So
He'll be
he's a bonus tackler.
Rover-ish.
Right. So he then is trying to do some of what the linebacker's job is because they're just new and inexperienced and they're getting thrown around on this typhoon of motions and all that kind of stuff. Well, he's now then not playing the position that he would normally be playing if Bacon and Brazina, and that's what the linebacking crew would be. So he's out of position because he's forced to play tighter to help the linebackers. And then Tashawn James, where Verdun would be, is also trusted to play more of a bigger role if everything ties back into that. So it's more like if I'm Iowa State's coaching staff, which there's a reason why they're getting paid a lot more than me. But what I would, if I would Iowa State's defensive coaching staff, it's getting back as much as you can to base fundamentals. Where are your eyes supposed to be? What is your job on this play, this fit? What are you doing here? Don't try and make the biggest interception. Don't try and truck a running back. Where you fit, trust your eyes and go. And if you can get that linebacking crew, which is again, a skeleton crew they have played way more snaps than what you would hope for that group to play.
I heard the little burp in there.
It's nice. You play way more than you'd hope they play. You have to just get them confident and consistent against running quarterbacks, running more option style offenses. And I trust that they're going to be able to do that. But we also have to look at the fact that Iowa State is probably not going to be that top defense in the conference because teams have now figured out what's the code on this.
Not so fast, my friend. Two things on that. Caleb Williams effect. So Utah played Brandon Rose. So similar. Caleb Williams effect. Never heard of the guy. Didn't know where he was. Cam Rising's dead. Owen Wilson. Wow. Benched him. So they brought in Brandon Rose. Who is this kid? I don't know. So he did okay. But to your point, I mean, okay, 2 picks, 2 touchdowns, whatever. To your point, though, when Iowa State plays them, not looking past Cincinnati, but when Iowa State plays them next week, they'll have 8 quarters.
8 quarters worth of film.
Assuming he plays versus Colorado. But what I wanted to say is, to your point of get back to basics, do what you do. You saw was it 2017 after Texas or before Texas rather, they switched up the defense. If they were going to do that, and on Williams and Bloom's Sunday show, Bloom had talked about how Iowa State was really good when they first implemented the defense, the 3-5. They were really good at stopping the run, like top 20-ish nationally, and then went to like top 30, top 40, top 50. I think eventually now we're like not good at stopping the run. So what I hope the coaches do is now there is not a better time than now when you're about to face Tyson Veit, who was part of the orchestration? Yeah, he helped orchestrate. He was part of the
orchestration.
He was part of the architect. He was part of the orchestra.
Wait, is it a symphony or is it a building?
He helped construct the
orchestra.
Yes.
He helped orchestrate.
He helped
the architecture,
come up with the building for the new
of the art.
Yes. So he helped Haycock come up with his defense, and so he knows the defense inside. Now, there's not a better time to switch up a defense right now, and they've looked like shit the last 2-3 weeks. Shocker, Jeff. First drive, ran 4 down linemen. It worked. You know what's great when something works? Go away from it.
Well, here's the problem.
You know what else worked? Running the ball with Carson Hansen. 3 carries, 30 yards. Let's go away from it.
There's another thing.
What the hell are we doing?
2 things. Thing number 1 is with the 4 down. I think that's the right fit for this personnel grouping because it takes one of those inexperienced linebackers and turns them into a more experienced defensive lineman. It gets you an easier pass rush. It makes it so they don't have to think as much. There's less gaps for the linebackers to cover. However,
but then I feel like Freeler could roll down, so it's almost like the same defense.
However,
nope, I'm not going where you're going.
If Dom Orange doesn't play in that game, you have really 2 defensive tackles. Let's call Tyler Onyedem another one that can play the 3 technique. You've got really 3 defensive linemen, if Orange isn't in there, who have played any meaningful minutes, and you need 4 of them because 2 guys are going to be in there at all times now. If you're majoring in the 4 down, you need at least 4 interior guys because you have to have starter at your nose guard, starter at your defensive tackle, backup at nose guard, backup at defensive tackle. Because imagine, as far as difficulty level of that position, I would say that's probably the hardest physical position to play.
You're a kicker?
What?
You ever been a kicker?
Physically, mentally kicker. Sorry.
Swinging legs a lot.
So Basically,
like it's tired.
Whatever,
that's physical.
Whatever the heaviest squat or weightlifting thing you've ever done, just put that on your back and have someone shove you around for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. Like that's basically the intensity level you have to resist because you don't know where everything's coming from. You have to respond to these 330 pound dudes that are taking you on. Yeah, you're big, but there's so much mass. It's such a physically demanding thing. That's why defensive linemen rotate a lot more than offensive linemen because it's usually offense dictates, defense reacts. So if you're going to play the 4 down, Orange needs to be able to be healthy or suited up there because then you have Hawk, Singleton, Orange, and Onyedem who could theoretically play the interior of that. You got enough outside guys because you could put Brzezina as a defensive end or Mendezoon.
I thought Mendezoon looked all right.
Mendezoon's looked really good.
I think Snyder was back this game too.
You have those guys that can do that, but you need more interior guys to make that work. And they didn't have the numbers to make that work. So you can't major in that. You can only play it here or there. And then even if you do, so you've only got 3 guys that are going to be playing in the interior between Hawk and Singleton and then again Onyedem. Well, if Hawk and Singleton are playing the nose guard in your 3 down look, one of them can come in when you do when you switch from a 3 down to a 4 down as you're kind of like rotating during the game. And then Onyedem has to play the other one. And if that's the case, who's subbing in for them? Even with just 3 of them, the rotations become difficult to major in that defense if Orange isn't in there. If he's able to play, which I have no information on that, I have no idea. If he's able to play, yes, do that. You can major in 4 down, and then when your guys start to get tired, switch back to your 3 down, shake up what you're going to be doing, but you can't just like wholesale switch it without the bodies to do it. Like that's the problem.
And if they're not going to go to like a 4-2, for the love of God, bring pressure. Blitz once in a while, please. Don't let the quarterback sit back there, take a nap, roast marshmallows.
It would be, again, it comes back to that, like, okay, so let's bring pressure.
I think if the linebackers are going to be out of position, I'm not saying they are, but if they're a touch slow, rush the quarterback, just go. You got no assignments. I think, that's what made Lovett decent last year was that, not saying his skill level was here, there, anywhere, but he had one assignment.
It was spy or blitz.
Yeah. So like, again, I'm not taking anything away from like Ryland Barnes or Bo Goodwin. They're young.
They're just babies.
So they are not as experienced as, any of the starters as Bacon or McLaughlin. Brzezina has, exceeded my expectation, but he's still young as well. So I guess my point is that they have still not seen some stuff that these older guys have seen, and they're not going to be able to react as quick as these older guys can. So in my opinion, I want to see some pressure. We got to get back to getting turnovers. They getting turnovers.
So if we do that, and I'm not saying that's the wrong idea, but I'm just saying like, I'm going to play devil's advocate on that idea. So if we're going to bring pressure to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands faster, what happens then? So if you're rushing your 3 and then you bring a 4th somewhere, some blitzer somewhere, then you're rushing 4 and you're dropping 7. If they've got 5 out in coverage and you have your corners, you feel fairly confident with between Williams and Porter and Purchase to some extent in the right positions, and Freeler and Cooper, awesome, great. Who's over there? Who's the other guy? So you have Tajon James, who when they did call a blitz, didn't realize I guarantee
maybe don't call the blitz from his side.
I would almost guarantee that what that was it was meant to be a corner blitz or a corner plus, where you can have the option of blitzing if you're close enough, if there's enough of an angle, and if you do blitz, then the safety has to replace where you left, and if you don't blitz, then you play normally. Like there's an if then. Well, he didn't play over where the blitz was. So if you're blitzing, that was a blitz, and the guy behind him has to make up for where that guy left. And that's the case whether you're blitzing a linebacker, a safety, or a corner. And guys have to understand not only what is my assignment, in the condition when that guy leaves, what is my assignment now? And when you don't have enough consistency in the back end between the rest of the linebackers who are out there, and now, if Verdun, Freeler, and Cooper are 1,000% safe or 1,000% healthy, and you got Williams and Porter, shit, send them, go. But you don't, and so
all out blitz,
man to man, everywhere. But when
Freeler on an island,
when you don't have that, it's hard to feel confident that you do bring pressure, and they're not going to immediately one-on-one find the guy who's in the wrong position, throw it to Grimm, and he's one-on-one with somebody who's out of position. even best case, you catch it for 15 yards and it's catch tackle. Like that's the counterpoint to like, yes, bringing pressure gets the ball out of the quarterback's hands better, but it removes some margin for error because there's less people back there. And like, it all just comes back to like, you have to do your job.
I think too, if say there's 3 plays in a row or 4 or 5 plays in a row, whatever, if there's not pressure and you're just allowing the quarterback to stand back there and do whatever, the D-backs are getting tired running around covering those guys for 8-9 seconds, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my thing is bring pressure just once in a while.
Yeah.
Bring it once in a while.
And it's not the wrong idea.
No, it's not. But I'd also say too, I think playing Kansas was a perfect storm. They were starting to figure stuff out. This is their first year with Jeff Grimes, who was Baylor's offensive coordinator last year, got fired. Obviously Kolnecki's with Penn State. And so Jeff Grimes, I feel like Baylor has always played well against Iowa State since he's been there, so I guess since Campbell and Aranda's been there. So Grimes has had success against Iowa State.
Because Matt Rule actually ran that defense.
Yeah.
When Matt Rule was at Baylor, they just stole Iowa State's defense and ran it there.
Yeah. So mix that with DK McDonald is also on their defensive staff. I think he's co-defensive coordinator, D-back coach, who, if you remember, he was on Campbell's staff when he first got to Iowa State. Coming off a bye, like it was a perfect storm. Kansas they were not one could say a sleeping giant. They're 3-6 for God's sakes, but they're good.
They're better than their record indicates. But again, you still shouldn't give up 525 yards. Like that, you shouldn't do that.
At one point, I thought our defense is just like, we might as well put the guy from the Weekend at Bernie's out there. Like they're just out there, just occupying space. Like at one point, Kansas had 4 drives in a row where they're scoring touchdowns. I'm like, what are we doing? Stop.
So Kansas's drive chart was punt, touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown. And they attempted a field goal and missed it, and then punt, end of game. So there was that section in the middle where you just couldn't touch them. They were running everything all over the place.
And when they caught balls, there was no one within 7 yards of them.
Because they're in the wrong, they're taking advantage with where the routes were going and where the run, like the play action was. You can't abandon the quarterback. So like you can't. So here's another difficulty. So, all right, having trouble staying with these wide receivers, but you trust your secondary to be able to play man, Well, if they're playing man, who's playing the quarterback? Nobody. If you're playing man, you're looking at your receiver. You're not looking at where the quarterback's going to be. So you have to have someone that's potentially a spy there, kind of. Well, then that takes somebody out of a pass rush, which is then more time, which then lets the secondary have to cover longer, which then makes the man coverage harder. And so, or do you blitz, which then it leaves everybody on a true one-to-one island, and you have to get there. And if you don't get there, so like Jalen Daniels being a good running quarterback with not being able to totally trust that you're going to be in the right spot zone-wise, that like, to me, defensively, it all comes back to fundamentals. It's like these new young guys, they have now seen not what the whole world can throw at them, but Kansas with their backfield, what the UCF coaching staff came up with to be able to mix them around and spin their heads around. Those two feel like
even Texas Tech.
Taj Brooks is just a really good running back. Yeah. So then what are they doing? What are they going to do to you? So now you've seen it. Remember when we said, follow your guards. Your guards will take you to the play, or whatever the keys are, is just trusting that your keys are going to work. It to me feels like these next couple games, the thing that I'm going to be looking for to make sure that they're going to be in the right spot more often than not is that it's more off schedule. The opposing offense is more off schedule because if your linebackers are in the right spot, that means a run play is hit at the line of scrimmage. Maybe the back does a really good job of like dragging somebody and now it's 2nd and 8, or he doesn't quite do a good enough job and now it's 2nd and 11, or the running back tries to bounce something out. Now it's 2nd and 14, or you're forcing a holding call and everything starts to get backed up. And one of the reasons why Iowa State was so on their heels the entire time is because I think they had a grand total of 1 TFL in the entire game. No sacks.
That's not good.
And it's hard to take an offense. Where is Jaden Daniels the worst at? Stand there and throw. That's it. Stand there and throw. That's the worst but they couldn't do that because it's like 3rd and 2, 2nd and 4.
You say that, I said last week that he was kind of booty cheek. He did not. He looked like a Heisman candidate there. He back there slinging it. So I take that back. I apologize.
He has his downside as far as like a prospect from granted, I'm not an NFL scout here. He has 1 speed.
Fastball.
It is a 4-seamer with a 4-seamer with another 4-seamer, and he's going to throw a 2-seamer as an off-speed pitch. Like, hey, bud, I need you to just tone it back.
There's one
like a little
zipped across over the middle. I was like, my God.
It was behind him by like 2 feet, but it was coming 94 miles an hour. And it's just, you can't make that catch. And now back to what you were talking about before. Another reason that Iowa State struggled is you were like, what's working? Run the ball. Great. Yes. Not when you're 1st and 20. Not when you're second and
work, Jeff?
18.
And this is how I know that Mauser listens. I said, well, if you're going to bring pressure, do a little tunnel screen. Guess what, Jeff? Did a tunnel screen and it worked.
It did. I think it was like 3rd and 14 too. It was a tunnel screen in 3rd and 14.
It friggin' worked. So here's what I'll say if Mauser's still listening. Nothing against Jalen Jackson. Good dude. Couldn't tackle in a phone booth. I think, my personal opinion, if you're going to run the ball, run it with Abu or Hansen. Keep Jackson out there though. He's a nice piece. He needs to be either in motion or in the slot. He lost his juice, lost his mojo. I think Abu and Hansen are our clear-cut best running back options, but as far as catching options go, Jackson might be that guy.
Can I make another counterpoint?
You sure can.
When did Bramer get hurt?
Oh, goodness gracious, Jeff. I don't know.
UCF, right?
Maybe, sure.
It was UCF, right? First half of UCF?
Tech.
No, it wasn't Tech. I think it was UCF.
UCF, okay.
So either way, game before that would have been West Virginia, which fine game for him. Not great, fine. Game before that was Baylor. Really good game. Without a tight end, so linebackers predominantly are responsible for middle of the field pass coverage and run fits. Those are the two things. Now, every once in a while, they'll get way to the sideline or drop really far deep into cover. Most of the time, they're going to be like the middle third of the field, give or take, anywhere between 0 yards, like at the line of scrimmage, to 20 yards deep, like that area. What position group usually stresses that area?
What area?
That area. Middle of the field, 0 to 20 yards.
I wasn't listening for a second.
The answer?
Linebackers.
Tight ends.
Tight ends.
There you go. So Iowa State's tight ends, generally speaking, have been really good over the years at keeping linebackers from triggering really fast. Because if you do, Bramer right behind you, Charlie Kolar right behind you, Deshaun Hanukkah right behind you, there's going to be somebody that's there. Right now, they're in a skeleton crew of tight ends.
Everywhere.
For Sama and Hansen, they're much more comfortable in running through somebody, and that makes it so they can still run an offense. If you're a linebacker and you trigger and you fit, like this is stuff that I was comfortable with. You hit me in the hole, cool. I'm going to still take you for a ride. We're going to go 4 yards down the field I'm going to drag you. Things that like Chantrell was really good at is if there's 2 yards of space, if you have two between Chantrell and the linebacker, if there's 2 yards of space, you're not going to touch him.
No.
A little dipsy doodle. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to touch him because he's better in space. That's what Jalen Jackson occupies. And the problem is without a tight end threat in the middle, because Bramer's not healthy, Moore's not healthy, that's not Burkle's game.
I'm calling it. I think Bramer's going to play in this next game. I have nothing.
Hope so.
I think he just had a little sprain, just a little boo-boo. He needs to out for a little bit longer. This game was the one.
I hope so.
He'll be back since need him. Got to have him.
If there's not a receiving threat, like in Texas Tech or against Texas Tech, they weren't able to run their RPO game because they would call an eligible man downfield. They got that figured out. There were still some decent RPOs that they ran to, I think it was Knoll or Higgins. So they were able to fix that problem. But without having a tight end be a receiving threat in the middle, get to stress a linebacker that, hey, this guy's firing off. Is he firing off because he's going to come block me? Or is he going to firing off because he's running an RPO behind me? And it makes you think for just enough time to give Jalen Jackson space. Without that interior receiving threat, that Bramer is really Bramer and Moore, I would say, are the only two guys that kind of have that skill set to occupy. They don't have legs anymore.
No, they don't.
Just chopped off at the hip, just little stumps.
Yep, just Lieutenant Dan's.
But without that receiving threat, Jalen Jackson now has to run in a lot more cluttered area, which Hansen and Sama feel comfortable in running in cluttered areas because they can truck somebody. They can bounce off somebody and move. Jackson needs more space. And so I don't think throw him out with the bathwater.
No, that's what I'm saying. If Bramer's still out,
When you start getting an interior passing game is when you have more of that scat back is comfortable with actually being able, or he has more space to make somebody miss in a phone booth.
Yeah, but I think Jackson for now, while Bramer's out, like you said, he's better in space. I think Abu is better in space. Get him on stretch plays more. That's what I'm saying. Like Jackson, if we were like to run him, watch me run this play this week. If you run him like in motion and just kind of quick handoff to him,
a little jet sweep,
little Jarvis West jet sweep. Yeah, that's where I think Jackson, if you're going to hand the ball off to him, would be most effective.
It's mouse.
Oh, it's not mouse.
So it's a hard thing to like. It's such a game by game fit, and you don't know necessarily what this game by game fit's going to be for Cincinnati. Who knows? And maybe it's a Carson Hansen game, or maybe it's an Abu Sama game, or maybe because they're going to be playing. I haven't watched Cincinnati enough. I watched a little bit of the West Virginia game. Maybe they play that 3-3-5 that Tyson Veit plays, and maybe there actually is a lot of space because linebackers are a little slow to fit, and Jackson can just be one-on-one with the linebacker and go to town. So it's hard to know where the fit's actually going to be. But I think the main thing that why the running game slowed down is game situation prevented them from doing it. By the time, so Iowa State's drive chart actually looks pretty good. They went touchdown, punt, field goal, punt, field goal. Not great, but you score on 3 out of your 6 drives. Then
my only gripe is that short field goal. Go for a touchdown. Be aggressive. That's the only thing I would ask. I think right now.
The one on the 4, and the one they missed Debo on.
Yes. Ooh, that was tough.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say is that it sometimes looks out there like the guys, not that they're not having fun playing loose, but earlier in the season, they looked like they were having fun playing loose a lot more. And right now, at times, it looks like they are afraid to mess up.
Like forcing it.
Yeah, like get back out there. Like when this maybe isn't this team's style, but like when Breece Hall and them were doing the man, I got that swag, and they were swagging on the sideline like during kickoffs. Mm-hmm. Those guys are having fun, and like they were fun to watch. And this team is fun to watch. And also at the beginning of the season, the thing that we loved about this offense was that they were so aggressive. And then they were just, I don't know. They look like they were having a lot of fun out there, and now they look like they're a little tight butthole, and they're afraid to mess up.
I think it's more game situation. Like UCF, you throw 2 pick sixes, you're down by a zillion points in the 4th quarter. Texas Tech, it's a sloppy, wet, weird game. A ton of penalties, which is super frustrating.
The last 2 games have been like that. Like 2 games they've lost, which they've been very
un-Iowa State-like.
Yes,
and then this one, you're down by a zillion. Like none of those are situations where you're like, yeah, let's party until in that UCF game, you take a lead and yeah, let's party now. But I think game situation has prevented them from being the offense that you want to be. And I don't know if it's necessarily you have to think as an offense that you got to score every drive, because that you aim it, you start, whether that's a running back trying to hit a hole perfectly as opposed to just be good enough, or Rocco or whatever, is just go out there and react. But like if Iowa State's able to get up a 14-0 or something like that, you're going to see that team in a heartbeat. That having fun again thing. It's just game situation for the last 4 weeks they haven't been able to be in a situation to like just cut it loose, because they're just digging themselves out of a 14 or a whatever 25 point hole.
Well, and I wonder too that Dylan Barrett's been out for the last few weeks too. He was suited up going through warm-ups this last game but didn't play. So I wonder if he'll be able to go too. Another guy, rest in peace. Hopefully he is good to go for this game too. We just gotta get healthy, man.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? And I want to ask you that too. Like I'm not putting this on the strength and conditioning staff, but there are a lot of injuries this year. I don't know. I feel like a lot of them are soft tissue and some of them are just unpreventable. But I will say that Kagi, the strength and conditioning coach that they have right now, he was like an assistant on whoever the first strength and conditioning coach was that Campbell brought. Wade. He was an assistant coach on Rudy Wade's staff. And there was one year where there was a ton of guys hurt.
I think that's most of the injuries aren't like soft of like the substantial guys, like Caleb Bacon, whatever happened to his knee.
Yeah, some are freak injuries. Yeah.
I think most of them are like Verdun broke his hand. Miles Purchase earlier in the year broke his hand. Bramer got rolled up into like a lot of those are contact injuries, which you can't really do anything about. I don't think it's necessarily as much of a strength and conditioning thing. It's just like shit luck. Is statistically speaking, guys are going to get hurt, and you're just on the higher than average side of guys getting hurt.
Half the team would be dead the year we're having a historic year. So like that's just perfect Iowa State.
I do feel like if you're going to get guys back, awesome. If not, you know what you're working with. You know how teams are going to attack you. And if you're Rocco, trust the fact that you might have to, you're going to major in having to like Overby. That was fun to see. Having Higgins and Knoll and Jackson out of the backfield and Sama out of the backfield. You're going to be doing more of that. And you might not be as run forward as you otherwise would be without, whether it's Barrett or if you don't have that interior tight end threat and the linebackers play tighter, you have to get everyone back with the passing game. That might happen. That might be the game flow that everything falls into, because you also don't have your 4 tight end set that you can just say, screw you, we're running the ball. It just, personnel might change, but also this is Cyclone Fanatic. We're watching Iowa State. We know what Iowa State's injuries are. We don't know what the rest of the country, the rest of the conference's injuries are. Like, who knows? Maybe like Utah, we've seen Utah, they're on their 64th quarterback. With Cincinnati, no idea. I have no idea what their injury situation is. And, sometimes it's just shit luck, and you got to play through that. If they're able to get some of the guys back, like a Barrett, like a Bramer, like I don't know, take him for what it's worth, but he said like McLaughlin started feeling better and is whatever.
He's not playing. He's done. He's not playing this year. None of those linebackers are going to play this year. I don't care what Campbell says. Bacon, he's not playing. McLaughlin, not playing. Berzina, I think he could play. Willich, not going to play.
There's Willich, I think he tore his ACL in spring.
I think Bacon did too. They just haven't announced it.
But it's just hard it's hard in these last 3 games to say like, okay, what have we learned? How to get back? Move on.
Did you see the Utah AD?
Oh,
what an absolute dingus! Speaking of that guy's a dingus.
A full dingus.
He got fined then $40,000.
Good. Personally?
And yes. And now everyone is like, get them out of the like bring in Oregon State or Washington. Get Utah out of here. You're bringing nothing to the conference. You were supposed to, and then you guys fell flat in your face.
They're a dingus.
Yeah, major dingus.
That was if you didn't listen to last week, just the first little bit, that was actually a really fun conversation.
Yeah. I did notice that the views on YouTube were down substantially last week, and it was a really fun interview.
How dare you people?
Yeah.
I don't check the numbers. I don't even know if anyone listens to this at all.
I do. I like to see the comments, and I'll respond if it's, if they have a question or whatever. Although my comments, my responses keep getting deleted. So I think Aiden's going on there and deleting them.
You don't speak for me.
Get off my page there, boy.
But the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland. They did announce the winner officially of that cyclones2ireland.com.
It was like Susan W. or something.
Sherry,
yeah.
Something. Congratulations to Sherry.
Unless she's a
Kansas State fan.
in
which case,
fan,
how dare you?
Fan. Yeah.
How dare you?
She probably signed up on cyclones2ireland.com.
She is
and cats2ireland.com.
Reverse warfare. Who would even do that?
I did it. I made multiple emails and did it, and I still cheated. The system still lost.
It flagged you already as soon as you submit it. They're like, nope.
Hey, this guy's
not this guy. This bloke is out of here.
This guy's got 15 different emails with just an additional one at the end, all with the same
this guy's
home
a dingus.
address.
This guy's a dingus.
Yeah.
What a bloke.
A bloke. Is that one of the things too? I know bollocks.
I know that it's a English thing. I don't know if it's an Irish
bloke?
thing. BLOKE.
Bloke. All right.
I know it's an English thing. I don't know if it's a
bloke. Bob broke. We ain't got it.
What? I mean, it's a reference that I've heard before, but I don't know the.
I don't think
by
I get
heart.
it.
Broke, Bob broke. We ain't got it. Ain't got no money. It's a Kanye song.
Oh, it's a
no.
skit. It's a skit.
I'm a Swiftie, not a Kanye guy.
Yeah, it's hard battle lines drawn.
Yeah, I was
hard
in on
battle lines
Kanye before I knew he was crazy. Okay. A Late Registration's the only good album. Then
College Dropout's pretty good.
That's what I meant.
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is also good.
Speak for yourself.
He's certifiably crazy. Is there any more meat on the bone to pick off with Iowa State? Oh,
You don't talk about meat.
there is some Iowa Pork Producers Association meat on the bone. How's that for a transition in a segment? Thank you to the Iowa Pork Producers Association. How many of the Purchase More Ham and Bacons? It's just Purchase right now, right?
Purchase More ham and bacon. Bacon's brother is technically still alive, but Purchase is hanging on. He's got one arm.
He's got a broken hand.
Yeah.
Man, Purchase More Ham and Bacon. It's a Madden cover curse.
Wow, the pork curse. Hammond left.
Yeah, I feel like it's.
They brought Orange on for a commercial. He died.
Oh God,
Bacon was in.
Just buy the pork, man. Just buy the pork.
They have not been eating their pork. I made for the game. I made some say pork and beans, but it was beans with bacon in it.
That's just pork and beans.
Really good though.
We're coming up on Thanksgiving season. Are you a ham or turkey guy? Or both?
Already about my turkey.
Okay, that's fair.
Ham is for Easter, spiral ham.
And Christmas.
My sister-in-law is, she's not like allergic to ham, but like the way that it's processed, she can eat like bacon, I think, but the way ham is something about the way it's cured.
Allergic or sensitive?
Cured. I don't know.
What's the difference?
Maybe sensitive.
Yeah. Sensitive just means your tummy gets upset. Allergic is like you get hives or it's different. It's different systems
I don't know.
that are
I'm not
reacting.
sure what her reactions are, but we can't have spiral ham, and I make a mean spiral ham too.
You just put it through like the KitchenAid?
No,
just stick it on the end like it's like one of the spiralizer things where it's like peeling a cucumber. You just stick ham on the end.
I buy it pre-spiraled, and then I will make a little sauce, and then like put it in the oven for however long, and then every 15 or so minutes I'll pull it out and baste it some more, get them juices nice and in there, nice and meaty juicy.
Just blow on it. Just say an incantation a couple times.
I don't do that, Jeff.
Wiccan, you and your bees.
I'm moving the bees next Friday.
Yeah, what do they do in the winter?
They get in a cluster and they flap their wings to create heat and surround the queen.
Do you have to put coats on all of them?
I just finished knitting my 227,000th one. Yes. So that'll be for all 4 hives.
it's just tiny little bee jackets. It's a dangerous work because sometimes they don't want, it's like a toddler. Like they don't want to put the clothes on. So you just have to, they sometimes just try and sting you and say, hey, no, Bartholomew, that's enough.
Right now I'm just feeding them sugar water every week or 2 weeks.
That's my diet too.
Sugar water.
More sugar.
Yeah.
Sugar water.
Great movie.
It is. Tommy Lee Jones, just A+.
My 9th birthday, we went to
Men in Black.
Yep, went to the local pool. Had a little pool day.
Ooh.
And then went to Men in Black.
That's a good one. Mm-hmm. I went. There was one. I don't remember what the other option was. It was like The Princess Bride or something. Or no, The Princess Diaries, something like that. Princess Bride, great movie. 100% would watch, should watch, will watch again. But like The Princess Diaries, also a good movie. But I can't be as like complimentary. I haven't seen it more than, like in passing, but I think Jurassic Park 1, 2, or 3, I don't remember which one was on. And my mom wanted to go to the princess one. And I think Jurassic Park came out in 1994, I think.
Sounds about right.
And it scared the piss out of me when I was 4. And then the next one came out and I was like, I don't want to go to that one. But I was like, my dad and older brother were going to the dinosaur movie. And I just didn't want to go to that because I was sort of scared of the dinosaurs as a 4-year-old, now then 6 or whatever it was. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go to this princess movie. I'm going to go to the dinosaur movie. I think I picked right. Was much less scared than the second one.
Should have gone to Five Foot Goes West instead.
What?
You ever seen Five Foot Goes West?
Isn't that? It's a cartoon movie, right?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Was that an in theaters movie or was it like a straight to VHS?
I don't know. It was great, whatever it was.
We have a little more Iowa Pork Producers Association meat on the bone for this game, and it's hidden.
Well, yeah, there's one more thing that I want to talk about too. Before we get into hidden
Nope,
yardage,
we have one.
I've got some meat on my bone. I'm going to pick here.
I'm so uncomfortable right now.
So, phrasing. So Jalen Nola is only 108 yards away from 1,000 yards in the year. It'll be his first 1,000-yard season in his career. And Jaden Higgins is 209 yards away.
When is the last time there was 2 Iowa State receivers that each had 1,000 yards? Has there been one of those?
I don't know.
Aiden's going to do a little bit of research here.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd imagine it would have to be like Blythe plus somebody in that era.
What about like
Lazard and Butler?
Let's say Lazard and Butler.
Or Deshaunte Jones.
Deshaunte Jones might have been in there too.
Somewhere in there. Because I don't think Charlie ever got to 1,000.
Josh Lenz, Albert Gary.
According to Wikipedia, so assuming that's pretty accurate, honestly.
Yep.
There's only been 6 1,000-yard receivers.
Ever?
So, yeah, at Iowa State.
Wow. What a terrible
Can we guess who they are? Can we guess who they are?
Yeah.
Blythe?
Yep. He was right at 1,000.
Okay. Allen?
1,018. You actually got 6 and 5. So.
Okay. Hakeem?
Yes, he has the all-time record.
Okay.
13-18.
Okay.
Xavier Hutchinson?
Yep. He's number 2, 1171.
Did Charlie get 1,000 yards?
No. Higgins last year?
Nope.
Because are we Lane?
Yep.
Okay.
He's 3rd.
Yep.
1,073.
So who are missing number 2?
Missing number 4.
What era are we operating in? Modern?
1983.
Oh boy.
But it's like he was the guy of the era.
Crutchfield.
Was Kevin Lazard?
No.
He was,
No, he was in
receiver.
92 or 91, somewhere in there, I think, or maybe a little bit earlier. Okay, forgive my lack of Cyclone lore. There's a bunch of people that are screaming at YouTube or the podcast right now. Who's the...
Tracy Henderson.
It's Tracy Henderson.
Yeah.
So we got most of them.
I knew that.
But that would be, Iowa State could have two. Again, thanks Wikipedia. But Iowa State could have two of them this year.
Yeah,
I feel
cool.
like... unless something crazy happens, you can say probably will have 2,000-yard receivers.
Higgins would have to average like 80 yards a game or something. I'm not good at math.
Yeah,
but
for
less
three,
than
and
that.
not even including whatever
65.
postseason Iowa State gets.
65.
Higgins had 983 last year, FYI.
It sucks.
Damn.
Hutchinson had 987 2021.
So just shy.
But he did have 1,000 yards. So.
Yeah, he had 1171 in 22.
When it was just basically Decker's chucking it to X and
Yep. The
go to town. That was
FD's out there
offense.
somewhere play.
Yep. Hidden yards.
Oh, good.
So there are some adjustments here. We'll have to. I'll give you either one, depending on. You can be close to either number.
Because
I'll tell you what the adjustments are afterwards.
Because they had a pick six.
Yeah, as a refresher,
So-
while you're thinking, as a refresher,
Assuming last possession of the game doesn't count for Kansas.
right? So that they were gaining some yards there. So that's the one where if you add it in or not, I'll give you either
Yeah.
number. But so as a refresher, hidden yards is how many yards more did Team B have to gain than Team A just to catch up to where they started? So if you average starting on the 50 and I average starting on my own 5-yard line, if I gain 45 yards per drive, I just get to where you started. So if you only have 200 yards of offense, but I have 500 yards of offense, but I start so far behind you, then those yards don't really mean anything. I'm just playing catch up. So your field position dictates how many yards you can get in a game. And if you get a non-offensive touchdown, then that removes a drive that your offense even has to try. So you just give 100 yards that the offense doesn't need to gain because you already got the ball in the end zone. So it's 100 yards of hidden yardage on a non-offensive touchdown, which did happen in the Kansas game, even if the return's not all the way there. It's just how many yards does the offense not have to gain now because it was scored. So non-offensive touchdown, and either you keep the final drive in, because if the team's not trying to score, that field position doesn't matter. You could get it on the +1 or the -1 or anywhere in between. You're just taking a knee. It doesn't matter. Throw that out to even the statistics out. So with either one, which number?
I'm going to go without the last
okay.
possession.
Perkins was hitting some nukes in that game too.
Yeah, I think Iowa State would have won hidden yardage, not the game.
Mm-hmm.
Would have won hidden yardage without the pick six.
Okay.
But with the pick six, I think it's going to be KU plus 60.
Okay, Grant.
That's a good guess.
Thanks.
I'm going to go with KU plus 42.
74. Kansas plus 74. Aiden, much closer. You suck!
Yeah, dude.
Back on the right track.
If you were to add that final drive in, they actually started it in Iowa State territory, and all they had to do was just get 2 first downs, and they won the game. So they kind of drove a little bit. If you include that, then Kansas actually won by 130 yards. If you add that possession in, which I would say take it out because they're not trying to score.
Yeah,
they're just trying to run the clock out. So whatever those yards were, if they went backwards 42 yards, doesn't make a shit to them. That the yardage statistic, you can kind of toss that out the window. So Iowa State was minus 74 yards just because of the pick six. So otherwise, special teams pretty good.
Special teams played really well.
Operations pretty good. Returns were pretty good. Coverage was pretty good. Punts were pretty good. And also talking about punts, it's a thing of beauty to watch Darian Porter just sprint like a gazelle.
Yep.
Once he's already beaten whoever's trying to block him. When he's fully, there's a difference between track sprinters and football sprinters, and Darian Porter runs like a track sprinter, which is it's pretty to watch.
So I will say that on Kansas's first punt, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to get down to the goal line, find the ball, and then
It was very well executed by Kansas coverage team
usually,
and the punter.
Yeah, usually that ball will spin backwards, but obviously
It's an odd shaped ball.
Yeah, it is. So it's not going to go that way every time, but that was perfectly executed.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you want to do.
There was in the Texans-Lions game, I think it was a Texans punter.
Didn't see it.
It was the Texans punter, the gunner for their coverage team just caught the ball on the 3. Like that's perfect.
Yeah.
You hang that son of a bitch up 75 yards up in the air.
The 5-5 hang, yeah.
Let your coverage team get down there and then them find it like a returner. Because if you're standing underneath there and the guy's already run out of the way, you just catch it. It's down it right there.
That's what makes NFL punters much different than college punters. Yardage wise, they are more similar, but then
Hang time.
Yeah, NFL punters have probably a half second to 0.8 seconds more, which
it doesn't sound like a lot, but Darian Porter, he's for sure easily 4.3. So if he's 4.3 in the 40, so 4.3 seconds to run 40 yards, assuming the first 10 are going to be slower because you have to get up to speed, you're basically 1 second is 10 yards of coverage. So if you have an extra 0.8 seconds, that's 8 yards closer that your coverage team can get there, which might mean the difference between returning it and not returning it, or having a lot of space and not having any space at all to actually return it. So yeah, hang time's a big deal for those special teams nuts that are still tuned in.
Did you guys see the fake punt?
Huh?
No, is it the PPO? Was it PRO, the punt run option? Is that what we're talking about?
So I can't. It was FCS. I can't remember what schools it was. Was
Wham.
But so you fake like you're gonna fake the punt, and then you punt it. It's fake punt. I can't show it on YouTube, but I'll show it to you guys after the show.
You can't triple stamp a double stamp.
Well, so like a rugby style punt. Like that, like there's the
rugby style punt.
No,
for my money,
this is like quarterback catch. Here, I'm going to put myself on screen. Quarterback catches it.
Yep.
Drops back to pass.
Okay.
Then puts it back down and punts it.
Quarterback does or the punter does?
Punter.
Oh, nice.
Like they're in punt formation.
Nice.
Fake punt.
Nice. If you're in the ensure the kick thing, I'm gonna kill that guy. I'm forcing that punt. Hey, that's one of those things. Like that's cool to do once, but if you're gonna do that,
it's kind of funny. Like one of the guys like stopped as if he was.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you? If you're gonna do that, I'm going to hit you so hard because once you get out of your punting motion, you're no longer protected. You can't, like when you break the quote pocket of the punt, like if you run sideways like a rugby punt, you're not protected. You can be roughed. If you try and pull up and pass, you become not a protected punter. When you pull it back down, I can kill you. So that's cool.
Aggressive.
I'm going to murder you if you're a punter. Yeah, don't. It's fun. It's cute. Do it once. Don't do that again because you're going to get your punter killed.
I want to give a shout out to Perkins though. He had a great game. He averaged 48.3 yards on 4 punts.
Bombs.
Long of 52, and he had 2 inside the 20. He had a great game. All special teams. Conradi was perfect on his kicks too. 2 field goals, 2 PATs. Good snaps, good holds, good punts, good kicks. Good. Kickoffs weren't great, but whatever. They returned them when we got them.
Was there any wind in the stadium? You were actually there as a fan.
Yep.
Looked a little windy.
We can kind of close it out with this. What was your fan experience? So we talked about being in the booth before.
Yeah.
Because in the booth, you're so like you would set up podcast equipment for Williams to do that, like the halftime reaction or anything like that. And you're not trying to like out and out cheer. In fact, it's actually strictly prohibited. But you got to go to the game as a fan.
Yeah.
For the first time since when?
I shouldn't say this out loud, but the Memphis game.
Oh, God damn it, Aiden. Okay, but what was your experience like as a fan in the house that Taylor Swift built?
Did you see Taylor Swift?
Awesome.
She was there.
No, I was so heartbroken that she was there the day after.
She was there day of.
Really?
Well, she might have been, but she wasn't at the stadium.
She was in Kansas City.
She was probably in Kansas City.
Wow, you were in the same city as her.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. No, it was really cool.
Despite being down by 25 for the majority of the game.
Like Arrowhead was a dump. I didn't really think it was. I thought it was a cool stadium, but also like I think anything like that is kind of cool. So yeah, the fan experience, they had fireworks right next to my section. Every time Kansas scored, they would fire them off. And every time I would forget, like, oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, we sat in the Iowa State section. So that part was pretty cool.
Large contingent of Iowa State fans?
Yeah, I would say it was like 75% Kansas fans, 24.5% Iowa State fans, and 0.5% Iowa fans for some reason.
God.
There was like an odd amount of Hawkeye fans walking around in Hawkeye gear, but it was weird. Like tailgating wise, it was like almost rare to see a Kansas fan. I think once you got in the stadium, it was like
those hobos live there.
Yeah, right.
Go home.
It was cool. Kansas City's always fun. Great experience outside of the game. Of course. But
just wish the game would have gone better.
yeah,
And really,
vibes were good at the start though.
yeah, despite the fact that 99-yard drive, pretty. And then after that, the next few drives, it just kept getting off schedule by whether false starts or a holding or something like that. And you're 1st and 20, and then you're totally thrown off. You can convert 1 or 2 of those. I don't know. I was actually when I was watching the game, I was like, I would be curious, and I'm sure I 1000% know that even this Iowa State staff knows what this statistic is. I don't. But what is the average, or what is the percent likelihood of converting a first down from 1st and 20? And I imagine it's got to be like 20%, maybe, if at best, from 1st and 20 to actually converting that set of downs. Because I think like a 15-yard offensive penalty is pretty much a drive killer. If you're 1st and 25 or 2nd and 23 or whatever it is,
Pack it up.
I mean, basically just don't screw it up and punt. Like that's kind of where you're at. And Iowa State just got so behind that in that barrage where Kansas was scoring so much, Iowa State just had 2 drives that they punted on that they just got behind the sticks. And then the rest of them, there's 3 drives that they had that I would say would be bad outside of the interception. 3 or maybe 4 drives that were bad. The rest of them, 7 plays, 10 plays, 9 plays, 6 plays, 5 plays, 6 plays, touchdown. Like,
yeah.
It's not bad. Special teams was good. Offense was decent. Conversions could be better. Penalties could be cleaned up, but I don't know. But I'm still not pessimistic about the back half of the season. It's just the only thing is just get to be more assignment sound at the second level of the defense as these guys are continuing to take reps, whether you get people healthy or not. Just be assignment sound, even if you have to simplify it, like run less stuff, but just stuff that these guys feel really comfortable with, and then trust that the offense is going to put 35 points on the board, and you can just keep the other team to 20, and then you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm. If you told me at the beginning of the season that we'd be 7-2 after 9 games, I would have taken that all day. I know there's a lot of pessimism right now. Obviously, on a 2-game losing streak, it sucks. But there's still a lot to play for. Iowa State is not completely out of the Big 12 championship picture.
Where is it? If Kansas beats Colorado, Iowa State wins out and they're in, right?
Basically, just Colorado has to lose to anyone.
Yeah.
So Colorado needs to lose 1 game for the rest of the year, and Colorado play? They play at Utah, and
they host Utah.
They host Utah and then play at Kansas.
Yeah.
So like that Kansas game, root hard for the Jayhawks, assuming that Iowa State has won and or would win their next few games. And if Colorado loses at all and Iowa State wins out, they're back in the title game and everything's still on the table despite a couple bad games. So
Colorado's got 3 games left. They host Utah, go to Kansas, and then they host Oklahoma State.
Man, how much fun would that be if Oklahoma State, if Gundy pulls a Gundy and just has him just lathered up?
I mean, they're 3-7, it's the only thing to lose.
Gundy could go full Gundy, man.
Yeah, he could.
He could go full Gundy.
They could wear mullets on the back of their
I was
helmets.
just going to say, break out the mullet for the last game of the year.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Does that cowboy on their helmet have a mullet?
Change the drawing, the actual logo.
That'd be sick.
Mullet game. I don't know. Still lots to play for. And even, let's say Colorado doesn't lose and Iowa State finishes the year 10-2. Well, shit. You finish the season 10-2. That's pretty fun.
Yeah. I mean, never happened before. I'm kind of jealous of Indiana, though. I mean, they made the right hire. Yeah, good for them.
Good for them.
Good to see those booty cheek programs get
ton of transfers in too.
They sure did. A lot of JMU guys, and they're tearing it up.
And you know who the quarterback is?
Yeah, the guy from Ohio.
Sure is.
Best quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
Do you know who Cincinnati's quarterback is?
Who?
Indiana's old quarterback. Yep. He's having a good year.
Good for him.
Decent year. Yeah.
We don't know what the result of the game that's going to be happening by the time we get done recording this in 30 minutes of the Iowa State game. Basketball game. What is it?
Yeah. Iowa State's going to win 89-47.
Okay. 89-47. You heard it?
57. Sorry.
57. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. You heard it here first.
But 57.
Yeah. UMKC, they're better than you think.
Fire TJ.
He's lost his fastball.
Fire TJ. They gave up 57 to UMKC in a game that hasn't happened yet.
Weather's looking nice though. Overcast, low 42, high 60. Night game.
You're talking about football.
Yeah, football. Back to football.
I thought you were talking about basketball, like the low 42. Did Hilton?
Nope.
I know they got a new scoreboard. I haven't been back there in a while. They took the roof off.
Yes, it is. It is the.
You really want to play an intimidating game? It's like playing at Rucker Park.
It's our Arvada Stadium. Is that in Ireland?
What?
The state.
I don't remember the name of the.
Yeah, I think it's Arvada. Whatever. Aveda. Whatever it is.
It's probably not Aveda. I think it's like a makeup program.
Yeah, sure
or makeup.
Aviva.
Yeah. Viva Las Vegas. But I think they're going to go back to black uniforms. I think Campbell is, they've worn they've worn the same colored home and aways for the most part all year. Lost them home and away now. Throw it all out, back to the blacks. Let's get crazy.
All right. I think all I got. Still, there is room for joy.
Yeah, we'll be back. It's a bounce back game. We'll be fine. So thank you to all of our loyal listeners. Thank you to all the veterans who served as well too. It is Veterans Day today. And as always, remember, adopt, don't shop.